from what I can tell, Walter, almost no actual friends. They don't know Gayle King.
Looks like not everyone is swooning over Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez's fancy wedding. While the billionaire and his bride were busy living their Venetian fairy tale, Megyn Kelly was on her show, ripping the entire spectacle to shreds. We can't say we blame her, though. This wedding was next level extra. Foam parties on their mega-yacht, endless champagne showers, couture outfits, and boat rides through Italy like they're starring in some Netflix rom-com no one asked for.
They had the ship, their yacht, which has its own yacht, carting them around with their massive amounts of foam dripping into the Mediterranean, which I'm sure is not eco-friendly.
But here's the thing, Megyn Kelly wasn't impressed at all.
These two were behaving like they thought they were royalty.
She called out the embarrassing truth behind the glittering guest list. According to Megyn, it wasn't a gathering of close friends and family, but more like a random lineup of Hollywood elites who probably don't even know the couple's middle names. Megyn and her guest, Megyn Callahan, didn't stop there. On her Friday show, they went full force, picking apart everything from the couple's PDA-filled courtship to why they think this marriage is heading straight for disaster. Yep, she basically said what many people secretly think, that it's all for show and might not last. Their guest list was dripping in pure Hollywood star power. Gayle King showed up, of course, with her bestie Oprah gliding in like the ultimate queen bee.
And then how does Gayle King go back to CBS Mornings and her job and pretend that she's anything approaching a journalist running around with people like this?
A whole Kardashian clan was spotted prancing around Venice, probably competing for who could post the best wedding selfie first. Tom Brady arrived looking smug. Leonardo DiCaprio casually slid in, and even Usher was there to sprinkle some R&B sparkle on the whole affair. Oh, and just in case that wasn't enough flex for you, Queen Rania of Jordan showed up too. Megyn, of course, wasn't having it. On her show, she called out the entire spectacle, throwing major shade at the billionaire couple. In true savage Megyn style, she compared their wedding to Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's celebrity pack bash.
This is exactly what Meghan and Harry did. The bigger your name, the more likely you were to get an invite.
But behind all this star power, Megyn saw emptiness. She believed Bezos, with all his billions, could have easily surrounded himself with people who actually mattered. And Walter Kim agreed.
Everybody looked tacky. As you say, the guest list seemed to have been chosen by a PR firm. Where was his little league coach, his favorite professor, the guy who stuck with him?
Like friends who loved him before he became the Amazon overlord. Instead, it looked like the only way onto that exclusive guest list was to have a name that sparkled in headlines. And if you think that was savage, wait for this. Megyn set her sights on Euphoria bombshell Sydney Sweeney.
Sydney Sweeney, the new toast of the town out there because she's got these enormous that everybody's obsessed with. How does she wind up there?
While the world gasped at how stunning Sydney looked at the wedding, Megyn rolled her eyes. She suggested Sydney didn't snag that golden invite because of her acting chops, but because everyone was obsessed with her banging body, especially her chest. According to Megyn, that's what really got her into Bezos and Sanchez's billionaire fairy tale bash. But the question here is, what was Sweeney really doing there? Well, according to an insider, she wasn't there out of friendship. The source spilled that Sydney is set to star in an upcoming Amazon MGM Studios movie, meaning she was simply paying her respects to the boss. Megyn saw it for what it was, old school Hollywood politics dressed up as a glamorous wedding invite. Now, Megyn probably thought she was dropping hot tea when she dragged Sydney Sweeney over her appearance, but turns out the internet wasn't here for her brand of savage. And now, the backlash is coming in strong. After OK Magazine reposted Megyn's biting comments about Sydney on Instagram, all hell broke loose in the comments section. Fans couldn't believe how far Megyn went, and they wasted no time letting her know exactly what they thought. One fan called her out for being downright bitter, saying they'd never heard anyone so negative in their life. Even journalists have a bone to pick with her.
Let me just say to Megyn Kelly, in my 30-some years as a journalist and my 50-some years as a person of color, go f yourself.
They also added that she probably needed a lot of love because she must be miserable with herself. Another person didn't hold back either, labeling Megyn as a hateful individual with a severe malfunction and suggesting she seek professional counseling.
Megyn Kelly.
I don't want to smoke my cigarettes.
Very good at picking targets, loves a fight, right? Helps her, that's what she is.
But it didn't stop there. Someone else described Megyn as a poor excuse for a woman, accusing her of being so desperate for fame and relevance that her entire brand was now built on attacking and degrading other women. They ended it with a word that stung harder than any headline: pathetic. Meanwhile, it looks like Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez's wedding wasn't everyone's idea of a fairy tale. While the billionaire couple floated through Venice, some celebs were busy sharpening their claws, and the jabs were brutal. Mia Farrow took the classy route with her shade, throwing a spotlight on someone she clearly thinks is the real queen, Bezos' ex-wife, Mackenzie Scott. Posting on Instagram, Mia gushed about how amazing Mackenzie is. Not only that, but she reminded everyone that as of December 2024, Scott had donated a jaw-dropping $19.3 billion to over 1,600 charities. Then came Charlize Theron, who didn't hold back her savage humor at her Charlize Theron Africa Outreach Project block party. Smirking to the crowd, she joked that they were probably the only people in the world who didn't get an invite to Bezos and Sanchez's wedding, but quickly added that it was totally fine because, in her words, they and were cool. At her Africa Outreach Project block party, she ripped into the entire spectacle, slamming the couple for flaunting their obscene wealth at a time when the world was falling apart. Theron reminded everyone that while billionaires were throwing decadent parties with guests, everyday people were watching their rights disappear and their lives crumble. Here in Los Angeles, in the US, and across the globe, we're moving backward fast, she told the crowd, her voice dripping with cold fury. She called out harsh immigration policies destroying families, the rollback of women's rights, the erasure of queer and trans lives, and the rise in gender-based violence. And apparently, Bezos didn't take too kindly to her words. According to celebrity insider Rob Shooter, Bezos was fuming when he heard what Charlize said about his lavish wedding. Sanchez, meanwhile, was ready to unleash her wrath on Instagram, but had to be talked down from publicly attacking the South African actress. But the billionaire couple didn't stop there. Shooter's report claims Charlize has now been officially banned from all future Bezos-Sanchez events. This includes Blue Origin space launches and any glittering charity galas the couple throws. Meghan McCain also joined the takedown squad on her Citizen McCain podcast, calling the wedding a complete waste of money. She slammed it as an egregious display of gratuitous wealth at a time when billionaires like Bezos are under fire for not paying their fair share of taxes. Because behind the glam wedding was the ugly truth about Amazon's working conditions. This was a company infamous for workers reportedly urinating in bottles just to meet impossible targets, being denied the right to unionize for better pay and safety. Many people also couldn't believe the jaw-dropping rumored price tag, over $20 million for a single wedding. Their Venice nuptials were nothing short of an opulent spectacle. Sanchez floated through the celebrations in multiple designer dresses that reportedly cost over $1 million combined. Their hotel bookings alone neared $900,000, while catering soared past $1 million. And that's before you even factor in the cost of security teams, fleets of luxury boats and cars, and entertainment fit for literal royalty.
Quality and elitism. Some used all the attention to lament high housing costs, damage from over-tourism, and just the excess of it all.
As the couple toasted their sacred vows with champagne showers, many were left wondering, how could anyone justify that, especially knowing the reality of Amazon's underpaid workers? But that's still not even the worst part. Remember the guest list? It wasn't just who attended, but how they got there. Over 90 private jets flew in these celebrities, completely trashing any claims about supporting climate-conscious ventures. Leonardo DiCaprio in particular got roasted by fans. There he was, waltzing into the wedding in a black baseball hat, acting all casual. But people couldn't help but point out the hypocrisy. How can someone preach about sustainability and saving the planet, only to hop on a private jet to party with a man whose carbon footprint is bigger than some entire countries?
They're worried about climate change. They're worried about the impact that massive businesses like Bezos' Amazon company have on climate change.
Meanwhile, in Venice, residents weren't exactly rolling out the red carpet. The city erupted in protests, slamming the billionaire's presence with huge banners, floating effigies of Bezos, and a fiery "No Space for Bezos" campaign.
This wedding, Greenpeace and Extinction Rebellion, they staged protests. Local Venetians didn't want their city overrun by tourists.
Their message was clear. They've had enough of over-tourism destroying their home, and they definitely don't want a tax-dodging billionaire treating their canals like his personal playground. And here's the thing that has everyone boiling with rage. Bezos reportedly pays a measly 1.1% tax rate. That's right, the man who spent over $20 million on a single wedding pays less in taxes than the average working-class person struggling to afford rent. It's this loophole-loaded system that lets him hoard his wealth and throw such an extravagant wedding, while millions around around the world scraped by with nothing. But here's what made it even more laughable. As Bezos was clinking champagne glasses on a mega-yacht, New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani was being labeled a threat to U.S. democracy. Why? Simply because he was proposing socialist policies that tax the rich to help everyday people. The contrast couldn't be starker. Sure, some defenders popped up online, arguing that it's Bezos' money and he can spend it however he wants. But that argument crumbles fast when you remember this money was built off the backs of warehouse workers peeing in bottles to keep up with inhumane targets. Meanwhile, Megyn Kelly summed up what many were feeling about the entire wedding vibe. To her, it felt like a freak show. It aggressively pointed the middle finger at the rest of us just trying to survive. She found Sanchez's cartoonish performance especially cringe, describing it as her bouncing around with pneumatic in a very over-the-top display.
I mean, look at her bouncing around. It is like bouncing around with her pneumatic and like they're it's just disgusting.
Megyn Kelly couldn't agree more. The foam parties, the PDA, and the yacht smacks were caught on camera. None of it felt accidental to her. In fact, she's convinced Bezos and Sánchez call the paparazzi to capture these candid yacht moments. According to Megyn, it's all deliberate, a carefully staged Marie Antoinette moment to show off their untouchable wealth.
It's the same thing as like fanning out your money and with a middle finger in front of it for the paparazzi. That's who it is, because they call the paparazzi. I am 100% convinced.
Yeah. Of course, Megyn has never been known for sugarcoating her opinions, but her latest takedown of Bezos and Sánchez was next-level savage. She took one look at Bezos' wedding day appearance and basically said the transformation from his Amazon garage days to his current billionaire aesthetic wasn't exactly an upgrade. According to Megyn, his new look is just not it.
Your yacht has a yacht to hold all of your toys, and also, I'm told, Lauren Sanchez's weird girl pals, who he doesn't want on the main yacht. And then on top of that, you risk spoiling your yacht with a bunch of foam that I went to a party one time years ago where they had foam in their huge swimming pool, outdoors, by the way, in Texas, and it was super fun. That didn't pose any risk. We were outdoors. It was a big actual outdoor swimming pool. This is on a yacht. I just feel like the excessiveness of it is meant, it's the same thing as like fanning out your money and with a middle finger in front of it for the paparazzi. That's who it is, because they call the paparazzi. I am 100% convinced. Yeah. I was just telling Paul Murray when I did his show on Sky News, I was just on a boat for a week in Greece. You know why I didn't get photographed on the boat in Greece? Because I didn't go call the paparazzi and say, hey, I'm on a boat in Greece, come take my picture. There is a reason these two always happen to get shot while on their yacht. Same with J-Lo. Have you ever missed a J-Lo appearance on a yacht? Never. We just happened to see him smacking her ass. We just happened to see the foam party. So they want us to be looking at this, Maureen, which is a real middle finger with the money splayed out Marie Antoinette moment.
Well, later I want to hear all about your Greece trip via boat. But so I also believe that this is, I columned on it for the Mail the other day, and I called it Jeff Bezos's big fat incel wedding. Because I think so much of this has always been, ever since he split with Mackenzie Scott and, his relationship, his extramarital relationship with Lauren came to light. They've both undergone significant physical transformations. Her face has become a sea of injectables, a repository for injectables, as have apparently her breasts and her butt. Jeff has transformed himself into some sort of very taut, muscular, bald, glowing personage that to me resembles a walking penis.
Something about his ultra-taut, overly polished vibe felt off to her, and she made it clear that in her eyes, money can buy a lot of things, but a good look isn't always one of them. But Megyn didn't stop there. She turned her sharp eye to Lauren Sánchez too, saying that, unlike Bezos, Sánchez was actually stunning before all the fillers, tweaks, and surgeries. Megyn remembered her as naturally beautiful, someone who didn't need all the extra sculpting to turn heads. Now she thinks Sánchez has gone so far with the billionaire trophy wife makeover that she's lost the effortless beauty she once had.
Unlike him, she was more beautiful before. She was actually very pretty when she was just normal.
Lauren Sanchez might have married one of the world's richest men, but Megyn Kelly thinks no amount of billions can hide what's happening to her face. According to Megyn, it's never enough for people like her. And now, she thinks Sanchez has crossed the line by making her face look deformed.
More. And if a little was good, more must be good. And now she's made her face look like deformed.
She called it sad, adding that she couldn't imagine living life altering herself endlessly just to please someone else. While Megyn took her time bashing the couple, many people around the world, especially in Venice, have come out to say their piece on the wedding. For many Americans watching from afar, it felt like a slap in the face. Millions are struggling to afford groceries, rent, or healthcare. And here's the world's second richest man dropping tens of millions on a wedding that looked more like a dystopian billionaire fantasy than a celebration of love. While some celebrities politely stayed silent, others didn't hold back, calling out how utterly tone-deaf the whole affair was in such turbulent economic times. But even with all the glitz, gossip queen Megyn Kelly thinks this entire marriage is doomed from the start. She pointed out that Bezos and Sanchez's romance began back in 2018, while they were both still married to other people. And there's a saying about that: you lose them how you get them. In her eyes, this is no fairy tale ending. With rumors swirling of a colossal prenuptial agreement, Megyn is convinced Sanchez will walk away with a fat settlement when things inevitably fall apart. Of course, after tearing apart their Venetian extravaganza, Megyn surprised everyone by throwing the bride a rare compliment. Despite everything she said, she admitted she doesn't think Sanchez is a bad person. In fact, if given the choice, she'd rather spend an hour with Sanchez than with Bezos any day. But the real praise came when Megyn acknowledged something almost no one is talking about. At least Bezos chose a woman who's actually close to his own age. With Bezos at 61 and Sanchez at 55, Megyn said it's refreshing to see a billionaire dating someone from his own era, instead of chasing models young enough to be his daughter.